Welcome to the Talent Revolution Tales from the Trenches. I'm Joe Shambone.
And I'm Jill Caniglio-Kirk.
Jill, we have a fantastic guest with us, welcoming Adam Dickinson. Welcome to the show.
Hi,
Hey, thanks,
Adam.
Joe. Hey, Jill. Thanks for having me.
For people that don't know Adam, he is a transition strategy advisor who helps high functioning adults interpret their inner signals and navigate career and life transitions with clarity and expanded awareness. He is currently focused on supporting U.S. federal workers that want to transition their careers into something that's new and more aligned. While spending over 15 years solving problems through logic at the FBI, and no, they're not watching or listening, Adam experienced a profound internal shift that forced him to look inward for answers. Through that process, he developed a grounded, accessible method for integrating intuition with logic so people can make aligned choices when life no longer fits who they've become. Again, welcome, Adam. Anything I missed on that nice intro? And again, not too scripted, but I wanted to make sure I caught everything.
Yeah, no, you did a great job. You caught everything. It sounded perfect, Joe. I appreciate that. You did a good job.
Well, thanks.
Yeah.
Adam, I am so glad to have you here. In fact, there's a time in my life I wish I had known you a while ago because it would have been nice to have someone in my Rolodex, so to speak, not to date myself, that
hmm
had your skills and expertise. But I find that when a person like you transitions into focusing in an area like this, there's some moment in time that,
hmm
speaks to them. Can you maybe share a little bit of how this happened and what inspired you?
Yeah, sure. Great question. For me, it really started about almost a decade ago. I was midway through my career at the FBI as an analyst. And it's all started kind of with a painful life experience. Someone important to me, we separated. And through that journey of healing, I started to go inward, look inward, started to meditate to heal. It was really a time where logically, and I'm using logic and intuition because it's sort of part of my ethos of how I look at the world, how I organize things. And with my career, it's really about the peak of my career, actually. I was doing counterintelligence analysis, looking at individuals who were stealing things they weren't really supposed to at the time. But when that personal situation occurred, um, I didn't really have the answers. And so, wanting to really heal, I was hungry to get rid of this pain, so to speak, and started my journey to look at the more spiritual path, the more intuitive path, and things just started to come slowly to help me navigate everything. Around COVID, I encountered a intuitive tool called the Akashic Records, which I describe as sort of your soul's intuitive library of information that you always have access to, and through a meditative state, you can gain this deeper wisdom that's always available. And to me, at the time when I was introduced to it, I was at the intersection of trying to get clear on my purpose. I was meditating, and way it was described to me, it just sounded like a treasure map of all the answers you could ever want. And I was like, well, who doesn't want that? And funny enough, coming full circle to 2026, I now, when I'm working with clients, I just sort of describe this modality as sort of like a soul aligned chat GPT. When I'm working with someone, they have access to that database. And last year, when the federal government was going through changes, I knew professionally that I had sort of done all the tasks and responsibilities that I wanted to do at the FBI. There really wasn't much left for me to explore or refine my skills. And with that, I also wanted to continue down this intuitive path where it's not only guiding myself but guiding other individuals. And lastly, sort of the last component of what inspired me to go into entrepreneurship, leave the FBI, was I have a vision where what I'm doing now is sort of commonplace. It's sort of a new norm where the information that is always available to you, but not really readily observable by the five senses, you could say, is talked about, is used. This metaphysical sort of information is always there, and it's commonly used in decision making. And that's kind of what I do now as a business owner is I incorporate this other data source into the conversation to help scope the problem set, and then I use my FBI experience to help with execution. So I look at all the data points of someone's life, simplify it, and help them kind of go forward on a step by step basis. But all those different sort of developments in my life coming together, that's what inspired me to sort of leave the FBI and come to what you see now as sort of a business owner. So, yeah, hopefully that helps.
Yeah, no, it's fascinating, and I love the term treasure map, right? Because I think there's, so many clues that we often have that when we're not really in the right frame of mind and we're not really in touch and maybe thinking clearly, we miss those signs. And
Mm,
sometimes later, through conversation, through exploration, through getting help and guidance, other people can help us see all those signs and realize those are clues to maybe finding our purpose. So, very fascinating and definitely resonates with me.
mm,
And I think having a process and having a person that can help you navigate that is certainly a very much needed thing in today's world as people really think about I'm doing this every day. I'm spending all this time doing things, but am I really feeling fulfilled? Am I finding that, purpose and finding that joy, right?
right.
And such. So definitely makes sense to me.
Yeah.
So in- the first art of solving a problem is understanding you have a problem or you have a need or you have a deficiency somewhere. So,
Hmm.
and I think that recognition is the hardest part for folks. So, Adam, how does somebody realize that they need, I don't want to say help is the wrong thing, but direction, guidance, support, how do they recognize that?
Yeah, that's a great question. It can be maybe slightly challenging if you're not readily looking for anything for a solution of some kind, or you don't recognize that you have the problem. But I would say some of the clients that I've worked with, some themes have come up. One is they keep running into the same problem over and over again and not sure how to get out of it, how to solve the problem logically. And so, what they're really needing is this more inward looking solution. But they just get frustrated with the same thing over and over again. And so they're feeling like they're in a rock and a hard place. And lately, this is something that I'm looking to help folks more and more with is helping individuals escape or create that inner freedom of a self-imposed cage that they're in. Whether it be through the safety or familiar sort of um, confines, especially in a career setting that they're used to, they're sort of in a state where they're not really growing, they're just sort of in limbo. But they know something's off. They can't really feel it or describe it, but they can definitely tell that something is not really clicking. But generally, I've gotten so far a couple instances. One, they just keep running into the same problems over and over again. Two, they're feeling. I deal a lot with burnout and sort of misalignment, where their greater sort of purpose is stagnating, but they're not sure how to maneuver either. The life situations that they're in because a lot of the clients that I help have a lot of competing priorities, whether it be financial or family or health or um, relationships. I don't necessarily have expertise in all of those areas, but I help them sort of piece together all the different components and help them, and I advise them on different ways to approach it analytically. Um, Similarly, the career burnout issue is quite consistent with some of the individuals that I support. And then I'd say the last one area is, uh, recognizing that you might have an issue or a challenge is that um, you're wanting something more or something more satisfying, but you're not sure how to put your finger on it. There's like I would say describing it as you're sort of feeling empty or like a ghost, even just kind of going through the motions. And there's a lack of fulfillment there, a lack of joy and excitement. And that's where I kind of come in and sort of start on the more intuitive path and help them at a deeper level.
Is career burnout the same in the public and private sector? Because I know you work with clients in both
Mm.
sides, and you're starting to see the private versus the public. Is it the same?
Yeah. Oh, that's a good question. Let me take a moment to pause. Hmm. I'd say it actually is slightly different. There's some nuances. A lot of the more public sector, government related clients that I've supported have more of a, I would say they're looking for answers that are related to purpose. And they've kind of hit a moment where a threshold in their career where the burnout is coming from a sense of expectations, especially lately. Some of the clients I've helped around patriotism, like pushing around the needs of what's kind of been expected with government structures and institutions. And then slightly different on the private sector side, it's been pushing around money, pushing around the survival sort of instincts of I need to achieve, I need to keep going. To uh, it's either provide for myself or my family, but there's also sort of a push, sort of culture that's creating this imbalance, if you will, on their body sort of not able to keep up with it, but their mind is wanting to keep going. So there's different sort of, uh, you could say, causes, but essentially there's an imbalance there that's creating this sort of challenging internal state that they're have to going through.
Yeah, one thing that's on my mind is I think a lot of people have these feelings and then they attribute all of them to, well, it's because of this and it's because of that and it's because of this. And often like they keep kicking the can down the road and they're trying to suppress this way they're feeling and justify it. Can you maybe talk a little bit about your experience with clients and do you see that? What's some of the why behind it? And, how do you help them navigate that?
Yeah, so if I heard you, Jill, you're asking why some individuals have sort of postponed or why they're having trouble like executing and finally like taking that leap. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, like there's signs there and they're feeling the uncertainty, right? And they're kind of waffling, maybe justifying, but maybe suppressing what's really happening. Is that a common sign that you see? And can you talk a little bit about um
Yeah,
maybe
yeah,
if
go
if
ahead.
we know someone in that situation, how do we help them, right?
Right. Yeah. And it varies depending on where someone is on their journey. So for example, some of the folks that I support are either lacking clarity on the direction they want to go. They're not really sure which path to take. Other individuals know where to go, but they have more of a um, I'll say a roadblock on trusting themselves and then finally wanting to have that more of identity transformation that's required at a deeper level. So for me, when I'm working with individuals, it kind of follows those three buckets of not knowing where to go, and then once they do know, they just have this sort of hiccup, if you will, on make not really trusting the decisions that they're making. And then once they are starting to trust, it's a matter of um, having that accountability to be consistent. So when I'm working with more the individual who isn't sure on the direction they're going, what I'll do first is tap in or get permission to access their Akashic records, and I provide them wisdom that essentially their best version of themselves is wanting them to know. So they'll come to me with various questions on, for example, what's my purpose? What am I supposed to be doing from a career setting, a life setting? I've gotten questions around location with jobs and career. They're kind of fumbling on, where do I relocate to? I've also gotten questions around family and how that might affect their career, like children and older loved ones that they have to take care of. So it just kind
Mhm.
of runs the gamut there. So first, I start with more the intuitive side, and what the Akashic Records does when I'm working with folks is it scopes things. It helps give an initial direction, and then once that's sort of that sets a foundation. And then when I switch over to the logical side, I'll do various analytic exercises to help them think through either through the problem set, whether it be doing alternative analysis, whether it be uh, creating assumptions and biases that might be affecting their decisions. Um, but the end state there is they're able to look at things more with a more rigorous sort of approach
Mhm.
with their decisions. And once they actually have that clarity on where they want to go, then it's a little bit more deeper work. So I'll look at um, if they're having trouble trusting themselves, I'll bring in more of my process called Into Logic, which is a four-step process where they start to notice their intuitive signals, whether it be from the body, whether it be from their emotions, or actual intuitive messages. And then from there, I'll work with them to interpret that information, and then the third step is aligning that information with logical thought so they can start to have things more integrated. And then the last step is actually taking action, um, which can be challenging if you're not trusting yourself and you're not moving from from a place of coherence and self love. So
Mhm.
I'll work with them through those steps. And then if they are still having challenges, doing that deeper inner work, I will help them through that transformation. But actually, they have access to some of my strategic partners. So if they are looking to develop their skills on the intuitive side, I will send them to more advanced practitioners, whether it be sort of somatic work and looking at that mind body connection and synchronization, whether it be my own Akashic Records instructors. I don't teach others how to do the records, so I'll send them to my mentors. Or if they want to learn more on the logical side, I'll send them to a foresight practitioner who looks at futures thinking and how to frame your mindset around that. And so they have access to all these different experts when they work with me to do more of that deeper work and identity transformation. So it just depends on where they're at on their journey, but they have these various tools starting off, and then as they want to finally step in and take that deeper leap, they can do that as well.
Yeah, I find that a lot of people feel like, what's wrong with me? Why am I going through this?
Right.
Right. And they kind of start at this inward, kind of self blame and doubt and all these other things. But, one of the things I really believe in is if we're not growing, we're dying. Right. So I
Mm, yeah.
think, us embracing that this is all part of life's journey. And at some point, we all need change. We all need to be challenged in different ways, and we need to, embrace different parts of ourself. And,
Mhm.
all the work we're doing, all the things we're exposed to is shaping our evolution. So to me, it should be more of a natural thing that, having this growth, having this, desire to seek something new. But
Mhm.
I'm hoping we're embracing that as a society more so today than maybe in years past. But I still
Yeah.
feel like it comes with some bit of like shame and awkwardness and,
Oh,
kind of
yeah.
doubt and labeling, in our society. So I really I love the fact we're having this conversation and there are people to help others navigate that this is a healthy, normal thing of how to take, your best talents and find a career you love and find purpose and all those other things. But I could see how it's an emotional journey for a lot of people. And it starts with sometimes, some discomfort.
Oh, yeah.
And, I think if people ignore and suppress that, which many high achieving people will do, saying, well, I can take this. This is just a chapter, right? This is just a stormy period for me,
Mhm.
and sometimes the higher achieving you are, the more you can tolerate. But I would just argue that if you're ignoring those signs, stop, pause, listen,
Mhm.
um, find some other people to talk to because there's probably something better out there for you.
Right. Yeah. If I may build on that, I think you hit on a very important component, which is a lot of the individuals who are more on the high achieving side. They kind of leave out this other area of themselves, is knowing how to uh, work with and integrate information that are related to your emotions. I notice a lot of high achievers either suppress or ignore that aspect of themselves, and it's a very important area to integrate into the decision making calculus, just because your emotions are a signal of what's going on. So no, but really good point.
Mhm.
You guys remind me of one of my favorite quotes from one of the movies is "Get busy living or get busy dying," and
Yeah.
your comment, Jill, was just perfect in that sense. Um, Adam, and I'm going to use this, and maybe it sounds a little elementary in the piece, but people say I know, by gut feeling, and I go with my gut, and that's not necessarily what you're talking about, intuition and different things that way. So I know you've had this question, and I'm sure it's out there, but how does that differ and change from the gut feeling versus intuition and what you're trying to show and help folks with?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's a very a great nuanced question. It's
I'm the one with the doozies, so
yeah, yeah, that is a doozy. I will say that the distinction between intuition and gut is very personal, very person dependent. Just because the way I work with my own intuition and then versus the gut is different than someone else might. So, for example, the way I do my own sort of intuitive side is through my, I'll say, experience meditating, and then the with the Akashic records. I'll typically, depending on what's called for the situation, um, go into my Akashic records first. And you could say generally that process is sort of a, how to describe it. Connecting to your gut through an intuitive framework. Uh, but often, sometimes if you're not familiar with how to translate the intuitive information, your gut can be confusing. Um, but I've done so many Akashic record readings that it's very easy for me to translate what my gut is telling me, and then use different intuitive tools to help expand upon that. So, for example, um, I have taken more instruction around how to do energy work through So, for example, remote viewing is another kind of common intuitive modality, and it requires a sense of observation and witnessing. Um, so you kind of take what your gut is telling you and then expand and refine the message. Um, so to your question, which is could be a complex one, I would start with knowing what your gut is telling you, and then expand that into different intuitive methods to help refine it, expand upon it, and build the information that you need to help them make better decision. Um, but I know that your gut is very can be very personal and very dependent depending on how you perceive uh, your body, how you work with your body, and how you observe and witness the information when you're observing stillness. So it can be very personal dependent. I
Okay.
hope that helps.
No, absolutely. No, I mean, you're right. I mean, everyone's gut is different, and because it goes with what you know, your knowledge, your experiences, and different things. And I just want to make sure everyone understands that there's a difference, right, in
Yeah.
that piece of
Hmm.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other thing I was thinking about is a lot of the listeners are HR, talent acquisition, hiring leaders, a lot of job seekers, and different things that way. You know, any advice that you could think of to how could they help others, right? I mean, a lot of the folks that listen to our show helps others like you're doing, right? I'm thinking, how could they help themselves, but also maybe recognize someone else needs this kind of support and guidance. So, thoughts around that?
Yeah, sure. And, if I go in a different direction, let me know. But I generally advise individuals when they're trying to notice their intuitive side is to start with the three areas of observing your body, observing the emotions, and what your emotions are uh, sort of broadcasting, not only to yourself but to other people, because what's going on internally is essentially a mirror, or it's mirrored back to you by other people. So, and also the intuitive side is if you are familiar with how your gut is communicating to you, it can give you certain messages on either you hear something or you just know that something's going on, or you have that sort of sixth sense, like the sort of like your third eye, if you will, is one word where you kind of see. Sort of a future state on something. And I'm not sure 100%, so you would have to let me know, Joe, on what HR folks are curious about. But when they are working with other individuals, I would sort of suggest one sort of tip is when you're communicating with the people that you're supporting, incorporating this, what I describe as like your inner intelligence, can help you sort of raise the bar on how positive you are engaging the people that you're talking to and providing solutions. Because I know when a lot of folks are especially even my own experiences with talking with HR folks and recruiters. Sometimes they're not always the most, I won't say helpful, but understanding at the time, because I know everyone's doing their best. But if you're able to incorporate more of that, uh, the inward focused data source into how you show up, how your presence and the way you're communicating, it can really sort of benefit everyone at a very a more peaceful sort of approach. Is that what you were asking? Sorry.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, Jill's more the HR person, but
Yeah,
but
I think being a good listener, sometimes trying not to have all the answers, maybe trying to ask more questions than offer more advice maybe is a good place to start.
Yeah.
One thing we like to do on our podcast, Adam, is share stories. You know, we the Talent Revolution Tales from the Trenches, and
Yeah.
without revealing anything confidential about any of your clients, we'd love to know, do you have a story to share or something you're extremely proud of, or a client you were really able to help transform their life? We'd love to hear a
Yeah.
story.
Yeah, sure. Oh my gosh, how much time do you have? I have so many examples. I
We'll let you pick two.
Okay, all right. Yeah, one definitely comes to mind. So, and this is one of the reasons to your first question, Jill, of why I decided to leave the FBI, and start my own business, and especially with talent and career transitions, is as when I was at the FBI, I was always behind the scenes connecting the dots for an FBI agent or the president or the military, whomever, and I never really got to experience sort of that impact of how my thinking and my analysis helped other individuals. So that was one sort of item that I wanted to do as an entrepreneur or experience.
Uh-huh.
And to your question, I have one client that's coming to mind right off the bat. So I provided her an Akashic record reading, and she came to me wanting um she is in the private sector. She wasn't really quite clear which direction to go. um and but she just knew that there was something better for her, more aligned for her. And after she did a reading with me, uh she was just so excited. She wanted to essentially start applying to jobs that she had an idea that this was sort of for her, but she didn't really understand how to translate what she was feeling. And she was so sort of the what I provided her was so spot on that she scheduled a second reading. And before we did the second reading, I touched base with her. I was like, "Hey, how did everything go? How did it resonate with you?" And she essentially told me that the all the information that I provided gave her the confidence to move forward because she was really feeling stuck on not trusting herself and not really sure, is this what I'm supposed to do? But everything that when I'm giving, especially Akashic readings, I'm just observing the information that comes through. And so I really don't know what it means, but it's supposed to land and resonate with the client. And she was like, everything you said would definitely made sense to me. I'm like, okay, good, because I don't know what it means. But because of that, I would say she's probably going to be a reoccurring client for me. But she came away with this deeper sort of confidence that she knew where she was going. She knew what to do. She knew how to do it. She knew what to do next. And so she was able to continue moving forward with the application process. That's one individual that comes to mind. And a second lady, I did a little bit more deeper work with. We similar situation. She was a single mom, had a lot of uh, different components that she had to think through. So we first did an Akashic reading, and then I helped her analytically look at all the different parts. And because of her situation, what she came away with was she was able to know in a similar manner what she needed to do at this certain time at second priority, what she needed to do at that time. And so she had essentially like a roadmap and a kind of like an internal checklist on how to navigate each decision point.
Right.
And she came away with like, okay, I have all these things going on, and if this happens, I know what to do at that point. If this other aspect happens, I know what to do then. And so she had greater clarity as well, that really felt in her body that she was going down the right path, but logically she knew how to execute. And that's essentially what I help clients do. But she was really excited because she had all these different things going on as a single mom, and she just needed some help. So,
Well, and I'm sure the feeling of having that aha moment with a client of everything making sense, all of these things they've been sorting through, kind of snapping into place, having that treasure map and saying, you know, I can do this, right? I have a
yeah,
plan.
yeah,
Hmm.
100%. Yeah.
So, Adam, I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of folks listening and going, well, how do I get in touch with Adam? And, hopefully maybe he could help me or read up some more information about what you're doing and how you're able to help folks. So where can listeners learn about your work and dive a little bit deeper and hopefully maybe reach out to you?
Yeah, well, I was about to maybe mention something on the humorous side. I'm like, well, they just need to reach out to you first, Joe, and then you can introduce me, right?
Well, I do that too, yes, but
We would be thrilled to do that, Adam.
of course I
Absolutely.
would. I mean, Adam and I have been connected for a couple of years now, so
Yeah.
but yeah.
But to your point, yeah, if you're in the middle of a career transition or personal shift and want more clarity on your next steps, you can connect with me on LinkedIn. My moniker is Adam-R-Dickinson, or you can visit my website at www.adamrdickinson.com. Either way, especially on LinkedIn, I share weekly insights on how to integrate your logic to intuition in practical ways to understand your inner intelligence during reinvention. So, yeah, feel free to reach out to me, and excited to have a chat with you.
Adam, this has been a great conversation. I think there's so many people out there kind of maybe suppressing, right? Kind of saying, I've got this itch, something in me is telling me something. So hopefully this is the catalyst that at least one person needs in order to kind of take that next step. But great work you're doing. Really appreciate having you on today. Fascinated by your background and how your career transitioned and how you're helping so many people now in your work. So thanks again. We appreciate you being on with us.
Yeah, thanks, Jill. It was lovely to chat with you all, and thank you for the opportunity. Really appreciate it.
Thank you again, Adam. Thanks, Jill. Appreciate everyone listening. Maybe next time we'll get into some FBI stories, but we'll have to tune in on that side. Like, share, and comment, and we will see you soon. Have a
Bye
good one.
bye.